Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today's topic is again going to be Docker, although this time, well, you see I've got it open here. This is my Docker Compose file with the Python and the Postgres image. This time, although, we're gonna focus on making sure your Docker application that you have like a Python run server command like this one is going to be deployed to a server. In example, but this is going to be in the second part of this tutorial, we're going to deploy this application to a DigitalOcean server. But primarily, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test it locally. We're going to go and move the Python manage by run server command to gunicorn, which is a kind of Python web server or middleware web server or something like that. We're going to put an nginx in front of that, and also host static files and uploaded media files, which we don't have in this little ticket app that we're going for. But yeah, let's just get started. Okay, step number one. We usually have this like Docker Compose file here. What we usually do is stuff like Docker Compose up, and well, in this case it's building the container again because I haven't built it in ages. Should be done quite soon. And basically we're doing Docker Compose up. We're installing our Python dependencies now because this is in the pip install minus our requirements, which is in our Docker file. Anyway, if you're interested in this setup, I'll have a link to that video in the description or in the top right corner. So yeah, the server is running, Postgres is running. I guess we do have a database, but we'll find out. This is our server port. 000 port 8000. Perfect. I may need to add that to allowed hosts. That is true. I think I tested it with the traditional. Yeah, there we go. This is our little ticketing app that I've shown in the other couple of videos, and it is working. It does have static files. That's why I'm showing stuff here now. There we go. It is loading / like from the root of our URLs py, and it is loading. Oh well, it's loading stuff from CDN. Apparently, I did not put stuff in the static files directory, so that's something we should change. Step number one. Let's just get something into the static things. I'll just create a directory called static. I think this is the way you do it in Django. If not, I'll find out anytime soon. And within that, we're gonna have like, I don't know, I'm gonna call it core.js. Oh yeah, I was gonna create a directory. I need to create a new file. I'm just gonna call it core.js, and I'm gonna just create a function called core functionality, and this one is, what is it gonna do? It's just gonna print something out. Okay, this is just so we can test it. Also, I am going to add an image, and I'm just gonna steal that one from somewhere. What do I need? Let's just steal the GitHub image, really. Can I? There we go. Inspect element. By the way, just if you're a lawyer or something, I'm not stealing the image. I'm just including it. So. Oh, you know what I want? I want the fork me on GitHub stuff. GitHub ribbons, whatever that is. Like this thing, I want that. Which color are we gonna take? Whatever, I'm just gonna take the first one. It does say it has a ribbon here, so this one I'm gonna download. And wow, how is it doing the CSSing of that? I'm not quite sure. How is it doing that? Position absolute top left. border. Oh, it's putting it on the top left there. Okay, that's perfect. So this image here, I want this one. And I want to save it in my static directory here. So gonna cd app tickets static wget this file. There we go. And this code we're gonna copy paste, and we're gonna put that into our ticket. You know what? We're actually not gonna leave it in our ticket app. We're gonna put that into our core app. Core static. There we go. It's just gonna kill that window. We're gonna put that into our base HTML. That's the navigation bar. That's the container. That's where we want it. Okay. We're gonna link it to my GitHub repository, which is this one. I think it's called Django Upgrade Video, but whatever. The source. Now this is getting interesting. We don't want to use the source from Amazon AWS for whatever reason, but we're gonna want to use the source from where it is right now, and that's within our static folder. And to use that, we're gonna have to write static. I believe it's static, and the file name. And there we go. That should be it. I believe I need to include static files up there. Load static files, which has the static tag. Yep. Okay, and we might have to restart the run server command, but we'll see. Let's just see what's going on in here. Static takes, oh yeah, I used it wrong. When you use static, it's a template tag, so can't type. You cannot just do it like that. You need to say static and then give it as a parameter the URL you want to have static, and close the static template tag and make sure you also add, yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, not bad. This is, although not good in terms of CSSing, but let's inspect it anyway. This is the image, this is the path it's being hosted on. It's hosted on /static fork me left red. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can set index this stuff. Yeah, I'm just gonna set index this stuff, and then it works. Set index 10k. No, 10. There we go. So this image is hosted by the Django development server right now. Yeah. And let's go to the network stack. I'm actually gonna just delete my core.js. Forget about the core.js. You've never seen the core.js file. You only see this image. That's the only thing that matters. I'm just gonna create a new commit. Git add git commit added fork me on GitHub image. Good. And right, now we have our basic functionality up. We have this fork me on GitHub image there, which is super great. And now let's just go one step further. Let's take a look at our Python run server command here. This little command launches or spawns the Python management server. But what if I tell you that this is not ideal for a production environment? For a production environment, you want a more reliable server that's capable of multi-threading, etc., etc. And that's where gunicorn comes into play. It's a Python whiskey server. It's called Green Unicorn, and it says it's a pre-fork worker model, and etc., etc. I don't want to explain all that stuff. I'm just gonna show you the very basic example that they've put on their website. Pip install gunicorn, and then create a new app that just puts something out somehow, and then you want to launch that app by saying gunicorn for workers and launch my app. That's the file, basically the package, and launch the function app. And then it's opening a server, and you can connect to that server. It's a web server. Cool. you can also deploy it. Like this is an nginx deployment that they've listed in there. It's not Django specific. This is only just a very basic Python whiskey server. For Django, we'll have to do a little bit more than that, but we'll get to that. Okay, first things first, we're gonna have to install gunicorn. In our little thing, well, in our little world, we have our requirements.txt, which is okay, but this is the requirements for our application. We want to install gunicorn only for the server. So this is not a good scheme that we have right there. To fix that, we're gonna create a new requirements directory. We're gonna move the requirements.txt. We're gonna search for references because there is one, I'm pretty sure. Well, okay, and we're gonna rename the requirements file to base.txt. These are our base requirements for the ticket app. All right, I know I'm using that in here because I'm saying work dir application and I'm saying run pip install. And we're gonna change that. We're gonna create a local, or let's say dev.txt. And we're gonna create a prod for production.txt. I need to double check the syntax, but I believe it works like this. I want to have the dev.txt that includes the base.txt, and I want to add, let's say, the Django debug toolbar. I'm gonna have to double check that, although give me a second. Pip requirements.txt include, well, we're seeing Stack Overflow, great, -r, and then nothing. So it's the same parameter. It's -r then, and I believe we don't need the quotes. Okay, and we're gonna have to use Django debug toolbar on our local environment. I'm just gonna double check that this is the correct package name. Like this is the Django debug toolbar. If you haven't seen it, I'll show it in action in a second. There we go. It's available and read the docs. Installation. Yeah, that's the right package name, Django debug toolbar. We only gonna wanna have that on the development server, not on the production server. And for the production server, we're gonna say include base.txt and also install gunicorn. Let's see what's the latest version for gunicorn, because it's advisable if you just have the latest version, and that's it, 19.8.1. Be aware that gunicorn, I believe, requires you to use up-to-date Python version. I believe Python 3.4 should work, although I have it running with 3.5 on my server as far as I remember, but 3.4 should work. Ooh, let's just see. Maybe it's in here somewhere. Oh well, they say Python 3.2 works. Yeah. Anyway, we have to rerun the Docker script that installs our stuff, and we have to redo the path here because we're just gonna do the dev requirements at this point. That's what we want to build if we want to build it. But we want to have a secondary thing, a secondary image. So this is our Python container right there. And this is our Docker compose file right there. I'm just going to close the two other files there. Okay. And what we want is, we want our Docker compose.yml, and we want, let's call it prod.yml, and we're just gonna copy this, and we're gonna have to change this Docker file so we actually use the correct requirements file for building. However, there's one more thing I want to do here. This is our Docker directory where we're gonna have that stuff, and we're gonna have the Docker directory. We're gonna have a subdirectory which we're gonna call local, or is it dev? We're gonna call it dev, and this is where we're gonna copy or move the Python container. We're gonna adapt that one. That's okay. That's great. And we're gonna have prod. And in prod, we're also gonna have Python. We're gonna copy. Can I copy here? Copy, paste. Yeah. Yes. There we go. And here we're gonna change the install from base/dev to base/prod, which will also install the gunicorn server. In addition, I just saw that we need to change this path because we're gonna copy from docker/dev/python entry point, and in the new production we're gonna copy from docker/prod/python. In theory, we could even just inherit the commands from this Docker file, but I'm not gonna bother at this point. What's more important is that we check the entry point file. I don't believe anything here is really relevant for change. No, that's fine. Okay. So we have this prod.yml now, and it's building from docker/prod/python/docker file. And instead of running the manage py run server, we're gonna start by saying not Python manage py, but gunicorn. And let's just double check. What did they say in the quick start here? gunicorn -w4 for workers. I'm just gonna copy that for now, and we're gonna run the. We are in the app folder. We're gonna run tickets. I'm gonna remove that stuff. We're gonna run tickets, double quote, is it whiskey? I believe it's tickets.whiskey. Where's my prod YAML? Tickets.whiskey.application, but I'll have to double check. Well, I've prepared an example for that. Let's see. Docker compose YAML. We want to run. Oh, I've got a command file for that. gunicorn.sh, which is running example app.whiskey. Okay. So we're gonna run tickets.whiskey. I'm gonna leave the Postgres server as it is, and I'm just gonna do a docker compose build. Let's see. This is obviously now this is obviously now trying to build the docker compose YML file, not the production YML file. And it fails by saying no such file directory base dev.txt. Did I just completely write it wrong? Yes, I did. Pip install requirements dev.txt, and then I probably did it wrong here too. Pip install requirements prod.txt and docker compose build. Let's see. It's pulling Django. So it is reading from our dev.txt, and it inherits the stuff from requirements/base.txt. That's working great. And it is also installed Django debug toolbar. Okay, so our old project is working as it should. Now, what if we want to build the production YML file? Although, to do this, we need to say docker compose -f prod.yml and build. So -f prod.yml tells the command that this is the Docker file we want to use. Then it's building it. It's also installing Django, but it's now going from requirements prod.txt, which also installs gunicorn. Good. And it worked. And if we want to up the server, we're going to say docker compose -f prod.yml up. Oh, whoa, that worked. That's incredible. Let's see what is going on if we reload this page. The connection was reset. Okay, what's going on now is much simpler. this thing is listening on localhost essentially and not on any port, and we're within a Docker container. So we will have to change this command. I believe it's -b for bind, and we're gonna bind it to 0.0.0.08000, and we're gonna up it again. And there we go, it is loading. It's loading slowly, and one thing is missing. You see, 404 for the fork.me left red PNG file that we've seen working with the development server, and it's quite easy to explain why. Because this Unicorn server is only running our application, but not our static files. Now there's ways around that. Django can host static files, but that's the wrong way to go. The right way to go is to have a dedicated web server, or even a content delivery network if you have the money or the expertise to do that. But let's just stick with dedicated web server, and we're gonna do that by adding an nginx image. We're just gonna say image nginx, and I believe we're gonna have to do some magic. So within our prod folder here, we're gonna create nginx. So we're not gonna use the image nginx. We're gonna say build double quote context double quote dot, no, come on, dot, and the Docker file is gonna be docker prod nginx docker file. And we're pretty sure that there's gonna be a port that's being forwarded, and we're gonna forward port 80 for now. I don't think I need a command here. Within that nginx, we're gonna create a Docker file. We're gonna inherit from nginx. I have to do a quick check here because I've already done that before. We need to do two things. We need to create the proxy file, a configuration file, and we need to delete the default configuration. Okay, I'm just gonna say, oh yeah, we do inherit from nginx latest. This one we don't need in our example, and we need to copy these. Okay, I believe we have to delete the default conf. I'm just gonna copy the directory. So we're gonna run rm. I had to copy the etc nginx conf the default conf. We're gonna have to remove that, I'm pretty sure, because it does include a default web server like the default page that you see. Actually, let me show that to you. We're just gonna do docker run nginx -p 8080. I think that's the one. What's it saying? Maybe without that. Oh, -p is probably the wrong one. Let's see. Grab port. My typing today is great. Docker run nginx -ports. No. Today is not a good day. Docker hub nginx. But that's the way you should do it, guys. You should learn by failing. If you don't know the command you do, you usually find a very nice explanation on the Docker hub page of the repository we're trying to run. And docker run -d -p. Let's just check that. Docker run. We don't need the name parameter. -d should be detached or something. 80 to 80. And we're gonna run nginx. Okay, that's better. Now it's giving you an error called error starting userland proxy. Listen TCP 00080, address is already in use because I probably have a local Apache or something running. That's the userland error that is happening all the time. If you don't just want to run it on port 80, but 8080, and oh, it's running. That was quick. We're gonna check it with docker ps. We have an nginx command running here. which is fine, and we're just gonna double check what is going on in here. Don't mind the other Docker containers. Welcome to nginx. Great. And why am I doing this? What I actually wanted to show is I want to say docker exec minus exec, I think minus it for interactive terminal 27 something bash. I'm gonna bash into the Docker container. That's what I did here. So I'm now within that nginx container, and I can check out the directories. In the etc folder is an nginx folder. That nginx folder has a confd folder, and that confd folder has a default conf, and this default conf is serving the page here. It essentially says some location stuff and server name and port, whatever. So yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna shut this one down. It's just a quick check. Docker stop. We are going to rm this default conf, and we're gonna copy well, let's do it with one file. We're gonna copy the folder or the file Django tickets.conf, and that file is gonna be copied to etc nginx confd. Okay, I believe I might have to double check. I need to use this full path for copying, because in the production YAML we said that the context is dot. So in that nginx folder I need to copy /docker prod nginx Django tickets.conf to that server, and that's it. Actually, I just need to fill that config file now, and that I've prepared again in this file. This file contains a lot more, so I'm just not going to bother with showing you all of that. I'm just going to show you the relevant part. The relevant part is that we have an upstream. Actually, I can show you that on the nginx deployment thing. Oh, it's doing it a little different, although, but for the sake of it, let's copy paste that. The indentation is just horrible in the example config files usually. Not very Python specific indentation, doesn't matter. Anyway, we've got our server name here, which is gonna be something like localhost. We're going to be on port 80, we have an access log, and we are passing to not localhost 8000, but Python 8000. Because the Python image that we have here and here, this is where on port 8000 the gunicorn server is running. And we are going to, we're just gonna host on port 80, and we're gonna proxy to that server. Let's just see what's going on. Docker compose -fprod.yml build. That should build it. Perfect. And we are going to up it. Yeah, same userland proxy error, because I haven't learned from my own mistake. I need to move this port to 8080. There we go. Everything is getting up fine. Yeah, should be. On port 8000, we still have gunicorn running with no static file. And on port 8080, we will have nginx forwarding the request to gunicorn without the static file, because we haven't included the static file yet. Now, that static file thing, that's a beast. It is actually not. It's quite simple. We need to specify that we want to host a static file. And to do that, I'm just going to create a volume in our production YAML that's called static files, or static files. We're going to include that in our Python image. I'm going to say static files should be in the root folder static files. And we are going to do the very same on our nginx, which doesn't have a volume yet. So we're going to add volumes. And the indentation is a beast again. There we go. And we're going to host static files in the static files folder. In addition, this is not it. This is not it. Definitely not. We need to configure our app. This is in our settings file. And it does have, I believe, static root is not set. Okay. You need to set static root in your settings file. We're just gonna go to the Django 1.11 docs. It's giving me the wrong one. And we're not gonna do static files, static root. There we go. Managing static files. This is the wrong docs. This is version 2.0. Thank you, Google. And usually what you have is your static URL. This will make sure when your static files are found like this, it gets this URL, blah, blah, blah. But what you really need is not that either. You need to set your static root, which is ironically, there we go. That's the first time they actually mention static root. This is the one we need to set. This usually goes into your production config and not necessarily your development config, but for the sake of it, we're going to do it in here. And our static root is going to be /static files. That's the directory that we specified, not in our Docker Compose YAML, but in our prod YAML there. All right. And this is just a Docker volume. We don't even see that in our actual repo, only on Docker. And we need to fill it. That's also something that is not done automatically, but we'll see that in a second. What we also need to do is we need to make sure our nginx server, I'm going to close that, our nginx server knows about that. And to do that, we need to specify a location. It's a location static. And we're going to say it's an alias for /static files. I believe nginx wants me to have a trailing slash. I will double check that in my cheat sheet. Static, location static. Yeah, that's okay. But one more thing that I just saw here is auto index off. I'm going to add it to. Basically, it prevents somebody from just opening the static directory in their browser and listening or indexing all the stuff that's in there, because really they should not be allowed to. All right, so what does this configuration do? It's very simple. On port 80 on localhost, we're gonna have a static file link, alias, whatever, and all other requests that go to the root of that will be passed on to Python port 8000. Actually, I believe this is wrong, because this will only forward the root directory, the request to the root directory, not all other requests, but we'll check that out in a second. Docker compose -f prod.yml build. You can see it's installing stuff again now because we've changed part of our source code, which is being copied over to the Docker container. So it's installing stuff again. It's building this, it's building that, and we're gonna say up. And it's up. It's still not going to work. Port 8080, there we go, it's not there. Because we need to do one more thing. We need to do collect static. That's also going to be said in here. Run a collect static management command. That's python manage py collect static. So to run that command, we need to say docker compose -f prod.yml. We're gonna say run -rm because we don't want to save the container. We want to save whatever it does within the container. That's in a static file, but not the container itself. We're gonna do it within our Python container because our Python container is the one that will generate the static files. And we're gonna call the command python manage py collect static. So this is where we're gonna run the command. This should be very similar to when you run a migration. Then it's just python manage py migrate. All right. We do get a very, very common error here, although this is a permission denied error, which is very easy to explain. In our entry point script in here, we are doing stuff with the Python run UID and the Python run user, so we don't have an issue with the make migration files, etc. Sorry. But now the irony behind that is, while this helps us for developing, it just totally messes with us when we are running the server, because both, I believe, nginx and Python in this case, are running within the root user, or should be running within the root user. So when we execute this command here, we're switching to the Python run user, which is the same user that owns the directory, and that just completely kills it, which is great, because yeah, it's just great. So what we actually want to do is, we don't want to mess around too much with all that stuff with home and etc, etc. We don't even need the user ID. I believe the run script should just run the script. If you're, by the way, if you're finding it hard to follow, don't worry. All this stuff is gonna be up in the GitHub repository that's being linked in the video description below. But let's just see if this is working. I should really just move the copy app command behind. Oh no, I can't move it behind the pip install. Anyway, we were able to build it, and let's just see if we can up the server. Yes, we can up the server, and let's see if we can now collect static files. Yes, we can. Again, this is not being in here, but it is within the static files. So if I go into the nginx container, I'm just gonna bash into it. There we go, and we're gonna go into static files. Then we should see, oh yeah, we're seeing static files. Okay, this is in the nginx container. So moment of truth, ticket app, port 8080 via nginx, and we have our fork me on GitHub icon. Great. Just to double check, port 8000 Django gunicorn server, no fork me on GitHub icon image, because this one is again going via gunicorn, and gunicorn does not handle your static files. This one on port 8080 right now is going via nginx. Nginx sees this little file here, a request to this file. It knows this file is going to the static directory, and let's just double check. It goes to static, yeah, and static is, as we just configured it in here, redirected or aliased to the static files folder, and the static files folder itself is basically this static files volume that we created with our Docker Compose file that we've given our Python Docker container and our nginx Docker container. The Python Docker container is filling the static files directory with the collect static command, and the nginx Docker container is just delivering it. All right, that was a little bit, well, a couple more steps than there should have been. I will again put this into the GitHub repository. Everything should be there. One more thing I want to check out, because I believe, no, this is actually working. This is cool. Let's see if we can log in. I'm not quite sure about my user credentials. Was it super user? Oh yeah, it was super user. I can create a new ticket. Let's check that everything is working. Nice. One more thing, although I want to show you, I'm still not very happy and confident about this part. This part is like saying, oh well, yeah, whatever is coming, forward it. I don't like it if it's like this. What if you have a web server where you don't only have your Django application, but you want to host like a robots.txt, not within your static folder, but on your root folder of your web server? Then you need something different. Then you need, let me see, I thought I had it here, try files, try, oh god, nginx gunicorn try files. You need this one. I'm just gonna copy paste this. I'm sorry. I'm gonna ignore the other headers because this is way too involved for what we're going to do right now, but I will explain them in a different video. We're gonna add this. We're gonna add a try files command, and we're trying URI, and we're trying URI slash. So first thing we're trying is this file is requested a directory, or sorry, is it a file? Then deliver the file. If it is a folder, deliver the folder. Example given the folder index or the index HTML of that folder if that's configured, and else go to my project backend, which is detailed back here, and essentially it means that we need to do the proxy parsing here. And my project backend would be like my Python Django. I'm just gonna rename that because yeah. Okay, I'm gonna exit my server here. And I'm gonna Control C my Docker Compose YML, because this thing we need to try it out. Docker Compose build. Docker Compose. Oop. And it's up. And it's still working. Let's see that this is, yeah, thank you. Let's see that this is not a cached thing. So we're gonna disable the cache in our network debugger here. No, it's not cached. This is freshly delivered from our server. Now this configuration, this one here is much better, because essentially it says everything else is just being tried as a directory or as a file or a directory. And if this fails, forward it to Django. So what we could do now is, if this was our web server, we would have like our www root directory or something like that, where we can upload robots.txt or something else. This is not the case now, but okay. All right, one more thing that I just promised is, let's talk about the headers you're seeing here. We have the header proxy set header host $host and the header proxy set header x forwarded 4 proxy add x forwarded 4. This one, make sure that the IP address of the user that's requesting to nginx is being forwarded to Django. This one, make sure that the host header, like if you request from, I don't know, djangoproject.com, then djangoproject.com is the host that's being forwarded. You should add more headers to that. Let's just double check what I'm doing in here, because that's the wrong one. I think it's in a proxy file. There we go. I am saying proxy pass request headers on, proxy set header x forwarded 4, set header host, set header x forwarded proto, and stop redirects, and proxy pass is the old command. Okay, gonna copy that and I'm gonna explain them quickly. There we go. The indentation is off again. Proxy pass is just saying move everything or forward everything from what's going in here to that server. Proxy pass request headers means whatever is in the request headers, please pass it. So if you have like your authorization token for a Django REST framework API, it needs to be passed on. Then proxy set header. This is a special header that's being set. That's what I just mentioned. This is the IP address. Essentially, that's remote address, but we need to take care within the Django application, because the Django application itself does not know that we are being proxied. Also, we're forwarding the host header. This is also very special because the proxy doesn't know the host header. Essentially, it does know it, but it does think it has resolved it, so we're forwarding it. And we're setting the x forwarded proto. This is because if you're going via an SSL connection, like just imagine your nginx is an SSL proxy, then you need to make sure Django knows it's running via an SSL connection. Also, we're gonna disable the proxy redirects, which means assuming Django returns us a response redirect with HTTP Django server double quote blah blah blah, then the nginx could go and say, oh yeah, it's a redirect, I need to rewrite the redirect, but we don't want to rewrite the redirect. The redirect should be handled properly by the Django application. Django is perfectly capable of doing that. Okay, that's it. Let's just build it one more time and see that it's still working and that everything is fine. We're gonna up it. There we go, it's up. Port 8080, yes, it's still running, everything is fine, great. Let's take a look at the headers as well. What are the request headers that we were talking about that are being forwarded? That's like the accept header, the encoding header, cache control header, the cookie in this case, a CSRF token, the host we're requesting to, the referrer, and the user agent. All that fancy stuff that your application might make use of. You need to forward it. Make sure you forward it. Other than that, oh yeah, I'm seeing something that I really don't like for our production setup. nginx is returning its full version string. I really dislike that. Let's just take a look. nginx version header. How to disable that, right? Oh, we're finding tons of pages. I think it's called server tokens off. We're gonna say server tokens off in here. Server tokens off. We're building it. And we're upping it. And we're refreshing this page to verify we are no longer receiving the server token. Okay, now I'm happy with the setup. This is the setup that I would recommend. This is a minimum viable product as an nginx server. This is what you should do at least. There's one more thing you should do if you want. If the IP address is important to you, you need to write a middleware that reads the X, not the X proto, the X forwarded 4 header and maps it to remote address. I will talk about that in the next video because this video is already too long. And yeah, anyway, in the next video we are going to do something very cool. We're going to deploy this app as it is, a Django setup app, to a DigitalOcean server. We're going to do that by pulling that stuff that we have in here from the GitHub repository, just like you would when you do anywhere else. Like, we're not saying upload it with FTP or whatever. We're just gonna pull it from the GitHub repository. And yeah, anyway, stay tuned for the next video. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you dislike it, that button works too. Also, subscribe if you want to be notified for changes, and yeah, leave me any feedback or questions you have. All right, see you soon.